Hey guys, I just wanted to touch base real quick. What I would have gone over with everybody at our managers meeting last Monday was about this. Since we did the Tuesday all day thing and I didn't have it, I've been trying to get around talking to different people about it. We're running out of time before Tuesday because I wanted to kind of go over some stuff with you so you'll understand one of the big programs we're rolling out on the 28th. Now, Tammy and Kevin were involved in part of the process. We had you guys over doing in our retreat to kind of go over this. So you guys are aware of this further than what others are. So I wanted to get people up to speed. I have had a chance to privately have a conversation with Bill Carter and Denise and John today. But I want to give you a little of a story so you'll have this as a background to what we're doing. First of all, what I want to tell you is this. The backstory on this is when Jimmy and I first started coming together as a team on this, and he started when he told me his vision on what he wanted to do. I have for 30 years thought the real estate model is broken. I don't think it makes any sense as an agent. I don't think it makes any sense in most cases as a broker. Most of you guys know this, but years and years ago, my dad and I were looking at buying an ERA franchise. And when we sat down and tried to figure the math to make it work, we couldn't figure out any way to make a profit out of it because by the time we started getting staff, getting overhead, getting utilities, getting building space, unless we rolled our commissions into the whole and took a split out of our commissions we would lose money. So in other words, at the end of the day, we'd have more stress, more risk, more overhead, more hours involved running it with a lower net. So we just figured that we weren't smart enough to do it. Now, Dad was not stupid. He was an econ major at Purdue, so we could actually do math, but our math couldn't come out to make any sense. Later on, I found out that 87% of broker owners, no matter what flag flies out front, actually lose money if they take money out of their own commissions to make up the difference. That means 13% are making money or breaking even. I would say probably most of those are breaking even because it takes about 100 agents in a firm for the back-end services to be scalable. So that probably means that you're looking at less than 5% that are actually making a profit. So with that said, like I said, the broker model has always been broken. Further, another thing that always bothered me about the business, and I confessed this to Denise and John today. Back in 2009, after the market crashed and we were dealing with the aftermath of it, I told my son Mike to get out of the business because what I had come to realize was over the years that I invested my entire career in this business. My father did before me, and what I saw was over and over again, my dad's contemporaries, Jim Deering had a real estate company on Main Street, Carmel for years. Garrick Mallory in Noblesville in Town Square for years. There's just tons of these guys I can tell you about that they have these offices, and then countless numbers of agents that I've worked with over the years who eventually got to the point where they decided to retire, and they literally, their 30, 40, 50 years they put into building their practice, evaporated just like putting cotton candy into a tub of water. So that never made sense to me. So what we've been trying to do, so when Jimmy first came here and started talking about, when he first talked to me about what he wanted to do and wanted to make a change to help people move from being real estate salespeople to becoming real estate business owners where they actually had an equity stance, where they actually have something that they can sell at the end, I was all in because that's what made sense to me. That's what I thought this industry has been lacking, and how do we do that? So all this whole process, this last several years, last 8 years, it's been an ever-going, ongoing evolution towards getting that done. The last 2 years, though, once we come to the realization, Jimmy was, he had a wake-up call when we were doing the we call it a mastermind group, and then he ended up taking over for Starla after, I think, in the June meeting. And that's when he realized that we needed to create a system to teach real estate salespeople, no matter what level of success they have, and teach them how to actually run a business to create a duplicatable, replicatable, systematized business. So that has been our ongoing quest momentum, trying to get this going. And then as we keep getting more involved, the one-on-one coaching, the accountability sessions, the retreats, Jimmy really had a big eye-opener when it came to the small groups, where he's working with an intimate group of people over and over again, over months, trying to help them build their businesses. We're starting to see where the breakdowns are between intentions and implementation. I had a little bit of another wake-up call from the same thing, reading a book called First Break All the Rules by Gallup. I hated this book because it was challenging a lot of my lifetime beliefs. And so when I'm reading the book, basically what it said was this: it's what makes great managers and what great managers do and implement and understand going into a situation. And basically the bottom line of that book is that people don't change. People are who they are. You've got their strengths, they've got their weaknesses, that's going to be who they are. You do what you can to put their strengths forward facing, you do what you can to mitigate their weaknesses, but the people are the people, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I had a real hard time with that because I have watched over my career, a whole career of watching people who have transformed their lives. They've made the decisions and made some changes and transformed. So and the book doesn't give any really room for that, and I was really frustrated with that and trying to figure out how to bridge that gap. All of a sudden, I heard a story that bridged the gap for me. Basically, you can't change anybody. Nobody can. It's like marrying someone and saying, well, I'm going to change them. You're not going to change them. But that doesn't mean they can't change, because they can have this emotional catalyst that comes in. It could be, I call it the Scarlett O'Hara moment. It's like, as God is my witness, I'll never be hungry again. And then at that point, change happens. I have watched a lot of people in my life that also have had that moment, but then no change happened because there was not a corresponding support system there for them to help them take that next steps to go into transformation. So that all that energy, all that emotion eventually dissipated. So as we were looking at this, what we came to realization on was the information's been around for a long time, and you've seen me do this before. When you start talking about, the Kiyosaki concept of employees, self-employed business owners, and investors, what you've got there is some employees are trading time for wholesale because they perceive the most important thing to them emotionally is potential of security. Self-employed people, this is 99% of real estate agents, brokers, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, plumbers, dentists, small business USA. What they will do, they're trading their time for retail so they can potentially make more money, but that's what they're doing. What you will find here is if you hear someone say things like, you just can't get good help, it's like herding cats, you can't find anybody with my work ethic. If you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. That's 100% of the time there's gonna be somebody in the self-employed model. The business owner, and their emotional attachment is to being in control and perfectionist. Your business owner, on the flip side, is 180 degrees different. They are emotionally attached to systems. Now, you've seen me do this before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but basically on the E and the S side, they're all the way down to their DNA. They believe fervently that the only way they can make more money is to give up time. And the only way they can give up or have more time with their family, they have to give up money. That's why you'll hear a lot of people in this category say, I don't really want a bigger business. I don't really want that, because what they're perceived, the trade-off is, I'm taking away time from my family, from the things I care the most about. That is not true. That is the matrix. That's before you take the pill. That's before you have the experience. On this side, the business owners and investors understand that there is absolutely zero correlation between time and money. It's systems and money. So what we came to realize as we were working through this, as we were really finding where the breakdown was trying to take self-employed people and putting them into a business model without making that change mentally, or without having that Scarlett O'Hara moment or what have you. And I can go into a lot of systems. I started looking at how, like for instance, Keller Williams, they put everybody in the funnel put them into a training program, and they hope 1 out of 5 pops out. Momentum, David Scott told me that they're looking at a 1 out of 5 people popping out. When I was building the Amway business, what we learned was we used to always talk about, you could only work with 3 legs at a time or 3 groups at a time, but most people that understood that would try to work those 3, but they didn't understand the fact that the math is 3 doesn't equal 3, 20 equals 3. You have to put 20 in a short period of time into the funnel to find the 3 that were going to raise their hands and be those ones that had that Scarlet O'Hara moment. And then if you kept momentum going, 1 more of those people that was out there would stay in incubation long enough that they would also come in. So basically it's still the same 1 out of 5 ratio. Well, that doesn't work in our world. I don't want a Keller Williams model. I don't want a typical transactional model where you churn and burn through agents. I want everyone to win. So how do we do that? So Jimmy and I were looking at this, and Jimmy came up with something that's the most brilliant thing I've ever seen since I have been in this business. And what it is, this has been here for the whole time. It's right in front of us. There is someone who figured out how to work with the self-employed process and create millionaires over and over and over and over again. And what he did, his name is Ray Kroc, and he's with McDonald's. And what he did was he didn't sell them the greatest hamburger recipe in the world. He sold them the best business recipe. Plug and play. Go in, just do it. And in fact, it was such a defined system that got themselves out of their own way. And what it did is they could hire teenagers to run that system. And those teenagers could have a 400% turnover rate per year, and then still they could become millionaires in that business. Now, there were of these people that had that moment and had that Scarlet O'Hara moment and became business people, and also they owned 50 of those McDonald's. But that set that model up. So what we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to roll out on the 28th, and I want you to be aware of this so that you understand the backstory. What we realized was there's 2 different areas that most small business owners, and that's, like I said, all real estate agents predominantly and business, brokers and what have you, again, back candlestick makers. What they basically have is this. There's 2 different weaknesses. One is you watch most agents and they're broke, and then all of a sudden they get busy and they start doing all this with the transactions, and then all of a sudden they have closings, and all of a sudden now they're broke again. They have to put things in the pipeline. And they're constantly in an up and down model trying to with their business for their entire careers. So we need to get them out of those transactional activities. The average agent, if you look at a line here at $15 an hour, another one at $25 an hour, another one at $50 an hour, another one at $100 an hour, and another one at $200 an hour, most agents spend most of their time in that just below $15 to $25 an hour activities, and very little of their time in the $100 to $200 activities. They need to be offloading all of this stuff and not ever touching any of it, and then also you'll see some major differences. One, you actually have more time with your family, and also you actually make a lot more money because you're being in your productive activities. So we're wanting to get this off your plate. So we're going to come up with a 4-tier, and we'll explain it much more detail on the 28th, but there's going to be a 4-tier transaction coordination. We've got a system where we go really from scoop to nuts. Everything, I just met a seller, I just met a buyer, all the way to post-closing activities. And we're going to give that to all the agents on the 28th. Then we're going to have a second tier, just a mild step up, where if you want to not put anything in DocuSign transaction rooms, our staff will do that. And then a third tier up is when I start getting excited, and that's where it's going to be a transaction coordinator that's going to have everything from a non-licensed transaction coordinator can do, literally everything. And then another one where everything a licensed transaction coordinator can do. And that licensed transaction coordinator, for instance, you call and say, I just listed 123 Main Street. It's this price, this